physical thing that's needed for somebody to use opioid or snorting or smoking, we have clean material for. And we know that people sharing needles, we know that people sharing like any of those supplies is really dangerous. We know that HIV is super rampant, and this is like a great way to spread it around. And we know that when we offer people these clean supplies, that like decreases a whole lot. We also know that people can end up with really nasty infections, abscesses. You know, I've seen people who come in and they're gonna lose their arm, to be like frank. It gets, you know, it can get really bad because people are just reusing the same thing because that's all they have. And again, with all the stigma around it, they're not gonna go anywhere to like get something clean and safe because they're ashamed and they're alone in this. So that's one thing that definitely reduces harm, and is that pure. We are not getting as much heroin here as we used to. And so what that's led to is new, really dangerous combinations. And there's like a new chemical, I can't remember the name, that's made its way into Chicago and across the country that's like as dangerous and deadly as fentanyl. Since we have so much less access to that, there's just like way higher levels of like fentanyl and this new chemical and things that are just like making the supply very deadly. I'm a big believer in like really decriminalization of everything, because we know that criminalizing people for any kind of behavior or vice is only negative. It's not helping anybody. And so the fact that like Oregon has decriminalized everybody and now they're offering either a fine or treatment or like some help is huge, because now, you know, instead of, I mean, it's so, I'm sure even to you guys, it's very simple that when you like punish somebody by giving them a felony or a record, you're decreasing any of their future opportunities in life. You are making a life that was already hard because of circumstances even harder, pushing them like right back into where they've been and maybe even worse off now. So to do anything else but provide like help doesn't really make any sense. You give so much back to them, and you know, let them know that they shouldn't be ashamed and that there's nothing wrong with them, but there's really a lot wrong with the rest of the world that's so stigmatizing and so uncomfortable in their own skin that they have to like be really mean and judgmental to other people. That really makes a huge difference. And we see people who come through for the first time, just like a gleam in their eye of like knowing that good people exist and like there's nothing wrong with them. And that's huge, because we know that isolation kills, and being able to provide people with some kind of community, some kind of connection and safeguard in that area it's huge, and it's so important.
I think the overall goal is just to, you know, you look at everything as a risk and a benefit, and so sometimes doing things that are counterintuitive initially as a treatment actually helps people in the long run. Mm-hmm. And so that's the goal of it. I think everyone has their own personal opinion, but I think overall you see how real of a thing it is. And so by just saying like we can't help these people until they're willing to change isn't really, that we've proven that doesn't really work.
Right.
So you should try a different way. It may not lessen the burden, but it might lessen the resources used and the like grandiosity of the situation. Like, for example, with drug use, like, are people coming in dead or on their way to dying because they've overdosed versus coming in but they use Narcan, so they actually like have a chance of living and you can go through the proper route. So they still probably like use hospital resources, but it's not the crazy life-saving resources. Yeah.
We can intervene with knowing, like, I know you're not ready to like quit and be like abstinent, but how can we start to think about, you know, what roles maybe did you used to participate in? What kind of routines did you used to have? And think about how can we start like building up the things that made you happy, that made you feel fulfilled, that gave you a sense of purpose. Because we know that, you know, when somebody is really low and they're down and out and they're dealing with a lot, they're not very motivated to give up the one thing that makes them feel good.
People are often practicing harm reduction, but they aren't calling it that. They aren't recognizing it as that. And so we do a lot of discussion around, you know, seat belts, right? And speed limits and really pragmatic public health strategies that we all use, that we're all engaged in, that are harm reduction, around eating and nutrition, like the dietary choices that we make.
Here in Toronto, just several hundred miles away from Brooklyn, supervised injections aren't happening in secret any longer. In fact, the government's starting to let them happen in the open. The city opened this facility following the success of a pop-up safe injection site run by volunteers in this Toronto park.
In this tent here, people are allowed to smoke drugs, and in the other tent here, people are injecting drugs.
Heroin.
Heroin, fentanyl.
Right now, please.
Oh, I'm needed, sorry.
Go ahead.
In the tent?
Yes. It sounds like there's an overdose happening right now in progress inside the tent, and that's exactly why they have these tents.
We're not going to touch you.
Can you take some deep breaths?
This place has been open for about 3 months. In those 3 months, they've saved 94 lives. Other than feel like, holy mackerel, you know, watching this, what do you want people to think?
I guess I want people to think that like everyone's lives are valuable, and we need to look at like the systemic issues that you know, stress people out and cause trauma in their lives and try to address some of these things.
If people are going to use, no matter the circumstances, is this the most effective, efficient way?
The most effective thing is to have people not using alone, because the drugs are so toxic. You need someone there to respond when they drop. We're not addressing, you know, people's mental health. We're not addressing their housing. Right now, we're just keeping them alive. We can't help dead people.
In my early 20s, I was homeless and consumed by addiction in the downtown east side of Vancouver. And in 2003, at the age of 33, I was introduced to North America's first supervised consumption site and opioid-assisted therapies, which kept me alive long enough to make the necessary changes to have the ability to enjoy the life that I live today. And if these two vital harm reduction facilities didn't exist, then I wouldn't exist. And neither would these two beautiful children or this beautiful family exist.